The Epic of Manas is a traditional epic poem dating to the 18th century but claimed by the Kyrgyz people to be much older. This opens the possibility of Manas having spoken a dialect of Turkey similar to that of the Kazakhs and Nogay people today. The plot of Manas revolves around a series of events that coincide with the history of the region in the 17th century, primarily the interaction of the Turki-speaking people from the mountains to the south of the Dasht-i Qipchaq and the Oirat Mongols from the bordering area of Jungaria. The government of Kyrgyzstan celebrated the 1000th anniversary of Manas in 1995. The eponymous hero of Manas and his Oirat enemy Joloi were first found written in a Persian manuscript dated to 1792-3. In one of its dozens of iterations, the epic poem consists of approximately 500,000 lines, and while Kyrgyz historians consider it to be the longest epic poem in history, the Sanskrit epic Mahabharata and the Tibetan epic of King Geza are both longer. The distinction is in number of verses. Manas has more verses, though they are much shorter. In 2009, a parliament member suggested its nomination for the longest epic story in the world because the great heritage of Kyrgyz people should find its place in the world history. There have likewise been attempts to identify Manas as Manasseh of the Old Testament. The end of oral epics in Central Asia has been prophesied since the 19th century. Nevertheless, we can observe a surprising vitality of oral performance and oral traditions among the Kyrgyz. Manas still plays an important role in Kyrgyz cultural identity. Narrative of Manas. The epic tells the story of Manas, his descendants and his followers. Battles against Khitan and Oirat enemies form a central theme in the epic. The epic is divided into 3 parts, each consisting of a loose collection of episodic heroic events. The Epic of Manas is divided into 3 books. The first is entitled Manas, the second episode describes the deeds of his son Semete, and the third of his grandson Sitek. The epic begins with the destruction and difficulties caused by the invasion of the Oirats. Zaki preaches maturity in this time as an owner of many herds without a single heir. His prayers are eventually answered, and on the day of his son's birth, he dedicates a colt, Torah card born the same day to his son's service. The son is unique among his peers for strength, mischief, and generosity. The Oirat learn of this young warrior and warn the leader. A plan is hatched to capture the young Manas. They fail in this task, and Manas is able to rally his people and is eventually elected and proclaimed as Khan. Manas expands his reach to include that of the Uyghurs of Mofulistan on the southern border of Jungaria. One of the defeated Uyghur rulers gives his daughter to Manas in marriage. At this point, the Kyrgyz people chose, with Manas' help, to return from the Altai Mountains to their ancestral lands in the mountains of modern-day Kyrgyzstan. Manas begins his successful campaigns against his neighbors accompanied by his 40 companions. Manas turns eventually to face the Afghan people to the south in battle, where after defeat the Afghans enter into an alliance with Manas. Manas then comes into a relationship with the people of Mawara, and are through marriage to the daughter of the ruler of Bukhara. The epic continues in various forms, depending on the publication and whim of the Manashi or reciter of the epic. History of Manas. The epic poem's age is unknowable, as it was transmitted orally without being recorded. However, historians have doubted the age claimed for it since the turn of the 20th century. The primary reason is that the events portrayed occurred in the 16th and 17th centuries. Renowned Central Asian historian V. Bartold referred to Manas as an absurd gallimaufry of pseudo-history, and Hatta remarks that Manas was compiled to glorify the Sufi sheikhs of Shirkent and Kassan. Circumstances make it highly probable that is a late 18th century interpolation. Changes were made in the delivery and textual representation of Manus in the 1920s and 1930s to represent the creation of the Kyrgyz nationality, particularly the replacement of the tribal background of Manus. In the 19th century versions, Manus is the leader of the Nogay people, while in versions dating after 1920, Manus is a Kyrgyz and a leader of the Kyrgyz. Attempts have been made to connect modern Kyrgyz with the Yenisei Kyrgyz, today claimed by Kyrgyzstan to be the ancestors of modern Kyrgyz. Kazakh ethnographer and historian Shokan Shingasuli Walakanulali was unable to find evidence of folk memory during his extended research in 19th century Kyrgyzstan, nor has any been found since. Recitation of Manus. Manus is the classic centerpiece of Kyrgyz literature, and parts of it are often recited at Kyrgyz festivities by specialists in the epic, called Manushi. Manushis tell the tale in a melodic chant unaccompanied by musical instruments. Kyrgyzstan has many Manushis. Narrators who know all three episodes of the epic can acquire the status of Great Manushi. Great Manushis of the 20th century are Sagim by Rozbakov, Sayak by Karalayev, Shah by Azizov, Kaba Atabekov, Saidin Moldokova and Yusuf Mamai. A revered Manushi who recently visited the United Kingdom is Reisbek Jumabayev. Urkash Mambataliev, the Manushi of the Bishkek Philharmonic, also travels through Europe. Talantali Bakchiyev combines recitation with critical study. Adil Jumachurdu has provided a comparative study of performers of the Manus epic. There are more than 65 written versions of parts of the epic. An English translation of the version of Sagim by Rozbakov by Walter May was published in 1995, in commemoration of the presumed 1000th anniversary of Manus' birth, and reissued in 2 volumes in 2004. Arthur Hatto has made English translations of the Manus tales recorded by Shokan Valikhanov and Vasily Radlov. In the 19th century, Manus today. Manus is said to have been buried in the Alatu Mountains in Talis province, in northwestern Kyrgyzstan. A mausoleum some 40 kilometers east of the town of Talis is believed to house his remains and is a popular destination for Kyrgyz travelers. Traditional Kyrgyz horsemanship games are held there every summer since 1995. An inscription on the mausoleum states, however, that it is dedicated to the most famous of women, Ganaza Khatun, the daughter of the Emir Abuka. Legend has it that Kanike, Manus' widow, ordered this inscription in an effort to confuse her husband's enemies and prevent a defiling of his grave. The name of the building is Manastan Kumbasu, or the Dome of Manus, and the date of its erection is unknown. There is a museum dedicated to Manus and his legend nearby the tomb. Influence of Manus. Manus, lost and amp found. A bridge linking Kyrgyzstan's epic to ancient oracles by Rizbek. Liz Williams' 9 Layers of Sky writes a modern-day account of Manus as a nemesis of the Bogatyrilya Muromets. University of Manus, the name of university in the city of Bishkek, the main international airport of Kyrgyzstan. Manus International Airport in Bishkek was named after the epic. A minor planet, 3349. Manus was discovered by Soviet astronomer Nikolai Stepanovich Chernik in 1979. The highest award in Kyrgyzstan is the Order of Manus. Manus, opera, composed by Abdulaz Moldibev. Manus, album by the metal band Darkstra. Petro Manus Energy Inc. Albanian-focused energy exploration company. Translations. Manus has been translated into many languages. The Uzbek poet Murtamir translated the poem into Uzbek.